It is 0 hour 30, Universal Time. I'm Jim Tedder in Washington. President Bush has begun a series of events to mark the 5th anniversary of the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks against the United States. He and his wife, Laura, visited the area in New York City where the World Trade Centers once stood. Al-Qaeda terrorists hijacked 4 passenger airplanes 5 years ago and used 2 of them to destroy the 2 World Trade Center buildings. On Monday, President and Mrs. Bush will take part in ceremonies at 2 other places where hijacked airplanes crashed that day. He will speak to the nation on Monday night. United States Vice President Dick Cheney has defended the war in Iraq and the Bush administration's actions in the fight against terrorism. Mr. Cheney spoke with a reporter on NBC television Sunday. Critics of the Bush administration say the Iraq War is making people in the Middle East more extreme. Critics also say that Osama bin Laden has not been captured 5 years after the September 11th attacks on the United States. European diplomats say Iran is considering suspending its uranium enrichment program for up to 2 months. European Union negotiators said Iran's chief nuclear negotiator proposed the suspension during talks in Vienna Sunday. But the French news agency says a member of the Iranian delegation denies that Iranian negotiators offered to suspend the nuclear work. Both sides have reported some progress in negotiations. The talks may be Iran's last chance to avoid international restrictions for its nuclear program. An Iranian human rights group is calling for an investigation into the death of a jailed opposition leader. The Defenders of Human Rights Center says the death of Waliullah Fayez Mahdavi is suspicious. The group has also called for an independent medical test of the body. Iranian officials say the activist died in the prison hospital after an attempt to kill himself. Mr. Mahdavi was a member of the exiled armed opposition group called the People's Mujahideen. Also Sunday, the lawyer for an Iranian student who died in jail says he has filed a legal complaint against top court officials. The complaint accuses officials of murdering the student. Officials say Akbar Mohammadi died after a hunger strike. He had been protesting the lack of medical care in prison. The top Shiite clergyman in Lebanon is opposing a visit by British Prime Minister Tony Blair. Mr. Blair is visiting the Middle East to support peace efforts. On Sunday, the Grand Ayatollah Mohammed Hussein Fadlallah said Mr. Blair is not welcome in Beirut because of his support for Britain and the United States. The British leader travels to Beirut from Israel, where Palestinian and Israeli leaders said they would restart peace talks. You are listening to the news in VOA Special English. NATO says 2 coalition troops have been killed in separate incidents in southern Afghanistan. A military statement says the soldiers were killed Saturday night in Kandahar and Zabul provinces. NATO also says its troops have killed 94 Taliban rebels in 4 clashes in Kandahar province. In Paktia province, a bomber has attacked and killed the governor and 2 other people. Officials in the eastern province say Abdul Hakim Taniwal, a family member, and his chief bodyguard died when a man carrying a bomb exploded it near the governor's car. At least 3 police officers were also wounded. A reported Taliban spokesman says the Taliban was responsible for the attack. The Iraqi parliament has postponed a debate on Shiite proposals to create an independent area in the southern part of the country. Iraqi officials say strong Sunni opposition led to the decision to delay the meeting. The main Shiite political group in Parliament offered the bill calling for a 3-part federal system in Iraq. The proposed system would include an independently governed area in southern Iraq where Shiites are the majority. Iraq's Sunni Arab minority fears that the bill would give control of the country's oil resources to Shiites and Kurds. In other news, police say attacks killed at least 18 people in Iraq Sunday. Cuban Foreign Minister Felipe Perez Roque says it is not clear if Cuban President Fidel Castro will take part in the meeting of the non-aligned movement. The 6-day meeting starts Monday in the capital, Havana. Mr. Castro has not made any public appearances since the announcement, July 31st, that doctors had operated on his intestines. Election observers in the world's newest nation, Montenegro, say Prime Minister Milo Đukanović will keep power. This is the first election in Montenegro since it gained independence from Serbia in June. Early results say the ruling Democratic Party of Socialists won 41 of 81 parliamentary seats. After he voted Sunday, Mr. Đukanović said he wants to push Montenegro toward membership in the North Atlantic Treaty Organization and the European Union. On Saturday, Montenegrin police arrested 14 ethnic Albanians, including 3 United States citizens. Ethnic Albanian officials criticized the arrests. South Korea has expressed concern over a Chinese study that claims much of the Korean area was once controlled by China. South Korean President Roh Moo-hyun said the research could have a bad effect on relations between the countries. The issue concerns 2 former territories. The Chinese study says both states served China in ancient times, but Koreans see the ancient states as the beginning of present-day Korea. And now, briefly, here again is the major news of the hour. President Bush has begun a series of events to mark the 5th anniversary of terror attacks on the United States. European diplomats say Iran is considering suspending its uranium enrichment program for up to 2 months. And NATO says 2 coalition soldiers have been killed in separate incidents in southern Afghanistan. And that's the news in VOA Special English. This is Jim Tedder reporting.